Okay, so now I'm going to take it upon myself to review this game for you guys. Since it is relatively new, I think it makes sense for us to do it, to actually still review it. It only came out, like I said, about a month and a half ago, not too terribly long, but I'd say it makes the most sense to, I mean, it's a great time to play it now because of the Halloween season. So let's go ahead and discuss this. So the latest game from the publishing studio Game Mill, at least I think the latest one, they pump out games like crazy. So to be honest, I didn't really have high hopes going into this one, because Game Mill has made both decent games and rubbish games. I feel like their concept is kind of just push out as many games as possible. You know, publishers, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, just put out as many as they want. It's kind of like one of those things where if you publish enough bad games, you'll still turn a profit somehow, some way. But with this one, it was a little bit different, a take on a classic series known as, you know, Goosebumps. It takes the children's horror and adds a bit more of a kid-friendly element, but actually makes it an actual survival horror-esque. And I don't think I've ever seen a game that's catered towards a younger audience that has this kind of stealth mechanics. I mean, I don't think I've ever played a kid game that doesn't have some sort of like attack where you actually have to just beat the monsters and they're relatively easy. This one really encourages you to stealth and avoid monsters as opposed to taking them on head on. So let's get into now that we've summarized or kind of given the intro, let's discuss some of the things that I did like, or actually let's start with what I didn't like about the game first. So I will say, some of the things are a little remedial. Some of the controls are very, very simple. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it did feel like certain assets and things, there were a couple bugs here and there, but there were some things that made it feel like a little bit repetitive. I felt like this part of the game, like they reuse areas, so you're going back to the areas quite a few times just to, I mean, in this, you come back with a new item. It's almost Resident Evil in stature, but I don't know, there's something about it that does feel a little blah the more you play it. You know, going back and forth to the same spots over and over. Sometimes you'll be in a spot and they will give you an objective, but the objective can be sometimes kind of vague and you almost have to figure it out. And again, I'm not saying it was tough to necessarily figure out, but sometimes it was just kind of too vague. And you got to remember, this is a game catered towards a very young audience or a younger audience to the point where they might struggle with it. So I'm not saying all kids are going to struggle with this game, but I think there's just certain elements, not all of them, but certain areas that I feel like it was just a little confusing and you're just like, wait, where am I supposed to go? I'm confused. Yes, you can use your map, but the map doesn't always tell you exactly what you're supposed to do. It just kind of gives you a big question mark, and this is the general area you need to be. However, one thing I will say about that is if there is a question mark on it, go there. That is where something it is. There's not like some hidden thing where you find over here and you have to bring it there necessarily. If there's question marks in it, there's something you have to interact with in that area. So despite being a little bit confusing, and obviously the game isn't that long as well. It only took me about, what was it? I mean, it took me 5.5 hours on stream, roughly, not quite, maybe a little over 5 hours to beat this. I was taking some time. I was up and out of the, you know, out of my stream, here and there, you know, just if I was just sitting down and doing it, I could see how this would take like 5 hours to complete, or sorry, how it would take like under 4 or 4 hours to complete. So when you really think about it, if you're just kind of going through and you're not exploring as much as I did, I ended up getting all the achievements, of course, minus the alternate ending, which I'd have to replay the whole game to do. Relatively easy. So the game is really easy to get all the achievements. There's no challenge whatsoever. There's not even like nothing for collecting all the like lore. There is some for collecting some. So you can tell that there's going to be a difficulty drop just because this is the audience we're targeting, and it's going to be, I mean, it's going to be good for that audience, but anybody older, it might be a little too easy at times. There was a lot of like, what do you call it, ammo types that I almost never used. I didn't really see the point of them. I really only used like 2 or 3 different ones. The basic rock that did action-based stuff, the heavy pebble or pellet or whatever you want to call it, and then of course the exploding pellet, which seem to take out the bigger enemies a lot more, but most of them seem relatively redundant. And while you can use them as noisemakers to help you stealth around it, they just don't really seem to make sense. You're better off just like avoiding them completely. Even those guys who like hang out on lampposts in the ceiling and stuff, and they have like goop underneath to kind of let you know that they're there. You can, as long as they don't step in the goop, they're not going to fall. So as long as you're not too close to that goop puddle, they will never drop. So you don't really even have to use a pellet on them. I just did just because I know I'm going to be looking around and accidentally step on it, and I don't really want to deal with it. You know what I mean? That's the only time I really had to think about doing that. So I feel like I said, some of the items are relatively generic and not needed. Just there's not much point to them. So it just seems like there's less and less things in the game that really have a point. You know, to using. Another thing I want to mention, based on how long this took and the very lack of replay value, like I said, there is replay value in the sense that you get to, you get a different ending if you just choose different things. It almost feels like there's not a whole lot worth it. And considering the price of the game, from what I saw, I think it was 50 Canadian. So it's probably about 40 bucks US, 40 pounds. That's pretty expensive. I will say this game is relatively overpriced given, what it's delivering. So I think this game needed to be closer to like maybe the 25 to 30 range at best. I'd say 25 makes more sense because of how simplistic it is and obviously the lack of replay value. Most people are just going to play through it one time and they're done. Like I said, I was probably on the longer side and it took me about 5 hours to beat this. So I feel like if you're not exploring everything, like the boat and all that seem really pointless except for accessing that one section which you needed to get for one. So everything has a purpose. There's no real hidden collectible or anything. I mean, there are some things, but like the drives, and you can find out lore if you want, but it really doesn't reward you that much. It just gives you a note to find. So there's not a whole lot of, I feel like there's a lot of tools in place to set you up, but just not enough of it to really keep you engaged in it to the point where it even makes sense to read them. You know what I mean? Everything is very surface level and you get what's on this, what you're seeing is what you're getting kind of thing. And you don't really feel the need to delve deeper because like the parents are no longer there, that you just hear about them. There's only one other adult, two adults that are actually in the game. And that's the police officer and of course the teacher, the librarian rather. So you don't really see anybody else. You just kind of hear about them. Very, very simple game. You could see it, which is why that price point just does not make sense for this. But other than that, that's relatively what I have to say about what I didn't like. Let's move on to what I did like. Now, despite all those things, I'd say this game does a very good job at making a kid's game quite detailed and quite fun. Despite having a space that's repetitive and things like that, there's certain elements that you can get a bit stumped or a bit stuck. I will say it's got elements to it that are just, they just feel like they feel fun to play. Like when you unlock a new area, I've always been a huge fan of like, oh, you can't access this point yet, let's go back. That's basically what Resident Evil and Silent Hill have always been. You might be in this area now, but you can't access this door until you come back later. And I think that is fantastic that they implemented things like that. Obviously for a younger audience, it's a great stepping stone game to get these younger guys into games like Silent Hill and Resident Evil to understand kind of this is a genre that is as old as games itself pretty much, like from the golden era of gaming in the 90s, and they can basically help kids get into a more advanced but similar genre. You know what I mean? So I think this game does a good job with that. I will say the game itself, like the gameplay and the controls, even though they're not that complicated and everything, they're quite fun and they work quite well. I will say the scary elements of the game, like being chased, the chase scenes, they're actually really, really good. Even though they're very cartoony and they're not meant to be like really scary, there is an element of fear involved when you're literally that close from a monster chasing you, you're just out of reach. So I think it's pretty insane that a game that's actually like not really scary and it's very cartoony and it's obviously not meant to like keep you up at night or anything like that, it does a good job at giving you that like dread someone's on your back thing. Like this game got my invisible run. If you guys don't know what that is if I'm getting scared and something's chasing me in one of these like in a horror game or whatever, my feet will start running like underneath my desk. My feet will start swinging. You'll see me do this. It's because I'm literally trying to run in game. It's just a mind thing that I do when I get scared when I'm running away. That happened in this game a couple times. I was like, fucking run. You know what I mean? So that did happen. It did trigger that response, the flight response. It did trigger that. So I got to give it credit. If it really wasn't that intense, my feet are planted and they are sitting still and there's nothing there. So it did actually have a decent scare in certain areas. Not, like I said, not necessarily in jump scare nature, but the chase scenes from some of these monsters, it can get you. So I got to give it credit for that. And obviously having, some puzzles and things, again, not too complicated, but throwing in elements of like one of my favorite genres for a younger audience, I just got to give them credit. And I'm actually super surprised at what this game actually has to offer. Now, it's obviously not going to be anything that breaks the bank by any regard. The story honestly was okay. I think it's pretty average storyline. There's nothing really crazy you could say. The voice acting can be a little cringe, but overall I did enjoy the point A to point B element of this game. Some things held it back, but overall it's a pretty solid experience given what what they delivered on. So to summarize everything, the game, despite having some repetitive gameplay, I feel like some elements that just felt kind of empty and unnecessary, that you did, or some gameplay elements you didn't even need to use that I didn't feel that they were just thrown in there. Despite having that, some cringy dialogue and some elements that just didn't really make sense throughout the game. It does have a great like introductory nature to this genre. It helps get, I think, kids into it. There are some scary elements to it, believe it or not. It's not just all comedy. There is some moments where they do the chase scenes very well. The stealth mechanics work well. The gameplay works very, very well. I didn't run into any real glitches except for maybe when you hit an angle a certain way and you saw like, you know, the whole thing just disappeared and you just saw the sky, you know what I mean? That happened a couple times. Despite having some, like I said, some useless assets, it still had some fun, and it was a decent story, and it was honestly not bad. I just think it's a little bit overpriced for what we're given. So based on all these factors, you know, weighing the good against the bad, I think a fair score for this game is going to be a 7 out of 10. I think it does things very well. It does some things that aren't so good. I think the biggest hindrance on this game right now is just the price. I think it's just way too expensive for what they're giving you. It's really not worth that much. This is really closer, like I said, at best a $30 game US. So I think, like I said, they're reaching a little bit. I know it's not that much more, but you're not gonna have any replay value after you're done, trust me. There's no point to like search the extra lore and read it all and everything. You might do 2 runs, or if you're on PlayStation, you can do a cloud save, and just before you make the choices, reload that cloud save and get the alternate ending so you don't have to replay the whole game. But there's no reward for collecting everything. There's nothing like that. So the replay value is pretty much nil. So if you're gonna get this game, or you want to get it for your kids, I would definitely wait until it goes on sale, and it's more like a $25 to $30 US game at best, or wait till it comes to like Game Pass or something like that. It probably won't because of the publisher. I don't think they'll ever do anything like that, but you never really know. I would just definitely wait until it goes on sale. Maybe wait until like next Halloween, you know what I mean? Like 2026, so it's like over a year old by then, and it'll probably be really, really cheap. You could probably pick it up for a tenner. Then I'd say go for it, cop it at that point. But for now, I'd say wait it out. It's still a cool little game, and I think most people are going to completely skip it, but I think it's actually kind of fun. I was surprised. I was very pleasantly surprised. The fact that it's getting a 7 out of 10 at all is pretty remarkable. And I gotta say, I can look back on this and be like, oh, that was actually a bit of fun. You know what I mean? It's like one of those games like you don't take too seriously, and it was a bit of fun. So 7 out of 10 for me. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream and the series. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Turn on those post notifications with the bell icon so you don't miss anything I put out here in the channel. Be sure to like and follow my socials: Facebook, X, Instagram, Snapchat, and Discord. Those are linked in the description. If you want to get yourself a shirt or hoodie of mine, there's a link in the description. Also an embedded feature below the stream. You can scroll down and see some goodies I have there. Ultimately, just go to the website for the full range of customization options and products there. Big shout out to the sponsors: DX Racer, Bones Coffee, The Ridge Wallet, Mad Rabbit Tattoo. I use their products daily. Check them out for yourselves with the links in the description. Be sure to use my promo code DanQ8000 to save at checkout with those guys. If you want to send something to my PO box, there is an address listed in the description. Check it out there if you want to send something my way. Anything that gets sent to that PO box will be open in a social post or in a live stream, whatever makes more sense for whatever is sent my way, okay? Finally, be sure to check out and sign up for the Team 1000 membership program if you haven't done so yet. It does support the page immensely. There's 4 tiers, 4 price points. The entry level is 99 cents, so it's cheap and easy to get into the program that way. However, across various tiers on those ones, you get things like custom badges by your name, custom emojis used in chat, exclusive video stream access, priority in open lobbies, giveaways, discounts, plenty more. We're working our way over the 500s once again. We cracked 500, and I think we're sitting at 510 as of me speaking right now. I'd love to get back up to 600. We've been at 663. That's the highest we've ever had. So if you guys want to help us get there, you know, support the channel, get some cool perks, you can join that with the link in the description. There's a join button below the stream. Also a section on my main channel page as well. And if you want to gift members or send super chats, you can do both of those with the $ icon that's next to chat there. Click it, you'll get a drop down. You'll see the options pop. If you are gifting members, just remember you can do 1 to 50 in a single transaction, but ultimately you can gift as many as you will. Oh God, get as many as you want through multiple transactions, okay? Thank you guys so much again. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and hopefully we catch you in the next one. All right, we'll see you then. Take care. Peace.
Who's the man with the plan? If you feel trouble wildin' wild on these violent and hit you 8,000. Wait a minute, hold that stylist dial. Damn, goddamn Billy Jack, we still riding tires flat. I hear them sirens, see shots flying, so we driving fire back. If they ain't vibing, lie with that. Got me dressed up in all black. What up? Hood up, and I see them haters try to run with us. They gon' need inhalers. Gotta breathe them hard just like Darth Vader. Players, grab your respirators. Night invaders get lightsabered. Mask on for the shooters, move like trash to bed intruder. Got that Glock and got them woofers. Just press play, I'll keep it moving. Who is not still, you damn fools? Keep it fresh like canned food. There ain't nothing we can't do, so tune into that damn Q. Yeah. It was never, ever a game.